Reading out a portion here of Mike Morris's review for Warriors of the Deep, published on the 6th of the 4th, 02. It's a really long review, so I'm just reading a portion of it here. Then, of course, there's the Merker. The Merker is incredibly bad, sure, although in truth not much worse than any other large creature in Doctor Who. The Krynoid is equally ludicrous, for one. The problem is that most of Part 3 revolves around it. Usually if a monster didn't come up to scratch, it was written out, as would happen with the Magma Beast, and the blame has to be shared between the creature's designers for doing their job so badly, the director for not getting a few rewrites done, and the scriptwriter for relying on a good job being done with this, the type of creature that Doctor Who has never had the budget to achieve. I generally think that Doctor Who is exempt from criticism for its visuals, but for the Merker I'll make an exception because it's so heavily featured. It's a fault, but it's a superficial fault that I'm prepared to forgive. As are most of the off-sided problems of the story, Who shouldn't be faulted for bad model work, or bad makeup, or dodgy hairdo, simply because it has rarely done these things well. The actual reason that Warriors of the Deep doesn't hit the heights it does is that the production feels disjointed, and various elements don't work with each other. The script seems to demand a claustrophobic set, but gets an open one. The sets demand wide-angled camera shots, but instead gets the usual mid-range stuff. The Merker should be cut around to hide just how ludicrous it looks, but instead has its incompetence gloriously framed against a white background. The parts fail to mesh, and with a more singular vision, this could have been a great story. It's still a damn good one. It's a great script, with a lot of depth and a very serious intent. To dismiss it as dull or derivative or cheap, such a dull, derivative, and cheap viewpoint. Doctor Who has a history of making a universe out of cardboard boxes, empires out of chipboard. It makes worlds from nothing, but three basic sets and a desire to tell stories. Warriors of the Deep is one of those stories. Of no time, bad costumes, a bunch of mediocre actors, and yet it reaches for the stars, and in its own way it succeeds. No budget, but a lot of heart. Yes, areas of this production are substandard, but all the important things are right. Warriors of the Deep shows us a world where people destroy without thinking, where no one looks beyond the surface, where people refuse to look past the surface and see the good in things. And that's not a nice world to live in. This is, beneath the polystyrene and plastic, a simple tragedy about a good man who finds himself forced to do terrible things. Criticizing it because the Silurians shouldn't have voices like that is like saying Hamlet's rubbish because Shakespeare had poor handwriting. There's another way.